the crash of the Celtic Tiger. My businesses collapsed.
16 years of hard work gone overnight.
At 36 years of age, my world fell apart.
At her lowest point, she nearly gave up on life itself.
I was in a very low point. I nearly took my own life.
But rock bottom became the turning point.
I went on a journey of self-discovery and I discovered NLP. We could call it hypnosis. We could call it effective communication.
From restaurateur to coach, from collapse to the black belt of the mind. Today, her mission is bigger than business.
My passion is actually to make people kinder. And I believe cruelty comes from lack of emotional intelligence.
This is the story of resilience, of self-mastery, of becoming the black belt of your mind.
The black belt is simply a white belt who never gave up.
Danielle, I want to start off with something deep. In your opinion, why do some people change while others stay stuck?
Oh my God, that's such a good question, isn't it? How long have we got?
Yeah.
Well, I suppose the first thing, there's a number of factors. One is your real desire to change. Most people don't want to change because, as we know, it's familiar. So most of us, unfortunately, many people will spend a lifetime in unhappy situations, even dangerous situations, in unpleasant situations because changing is unfamiliar. So we are so attracted, our human nature is to really, really stay in what feels like something that we've done before, we've experienced before. So breaking away from that and changing, it goes against our natural instinct. So our want has to be greater, our desire has to be greater than that instinct that's fighting to keep us the same. So I think that's the main reason why people don't change easily.
Great answer. And it's so multifaceted. Was there ever a time in your life when you were forced to change?
Oh my God, there was. I think we've all had those moments. And, you know, it's funny looking back. Now I can say, thank God for that. Then, you know, it wasn't a pleasant time. But yes, if we went back in time to 2009, I was forced to change. The short version is I had been in business for 16 years at that point, 17 years from the age of 19 as a restaurateur. And at 36 years of age, my world fell apart. The crash of the Celtic Tiger arrived. My businesses collapsed and I hit rock bottom. I lost everything. Most of all, I lost my own self. Well, I never had it actually up until that point. I lost everything, my own faith in living, in everything. And that was my decisive moment when I was forced to change.
I think a lot of people, they live this life of quiet desperation, but it's almost like, I heard this analogy of a fur-lined mousetrap. So it's comfortable enough to not make the change. How big of a factor do you think that pain needs to be for you to actually act?
That's such a good question as well. I am very grateful that the pain was sharp and painful and hard on me, because I don't know would I have ever changed. Like that's the real honest truth. I'd like to say I would have. Yeah. I don't know if I would have. So I had to get a hard smack, a hard kick up the backside to get me to wake up. And unfortunately, a lot of the time we do, because as you said, it's the worst place that we can be is in that comfortable zone. So it is. A lot of people need. Now looking back, I can say it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Not then, now. The other thing that we can do is we have to keep reminding ourselves, if we really want to change, we have to add more pain. We have to keep reminding ourselves what life will look like if we stay the same. And we have to build we have to unbalance the scales, that either we're focused so much on life will never change, life is going to get worse, it's going to spiral even further downwards if my life stays this way, and we have to add more pain, or we've got to build the desire again so strong, as I've said earlier, that our want is greater than that familiarity. And most of us are inclined over the tipping point by one or the other, either moving away from pain or moving towards pleasure. Mine was definitely moving away from pain at the time. So getting to know yourself and also knowing how you tick, as in what motivates you, is a great way to start that journey of getting out of that comfort zone. And as you said, the little, what did you say? The mouse with
the fur-lined mousetrap.
The fur-lined mousetrap. Yeah, isn't it awful? But it is so true. If we know how we work ourselves, and it's easy to discover that, whether you're more motivated by moving away from pain or motivated by moving towards pleasure, once you know that, attach more of one or the other, and you will take action.
So you are involved, Danielle, in NLP. What's all that about?
Involved in NLP. Sounds like it's a cult. It kind of is.
It kind of is.
No, it is. Although a lot of people will say that.
Yeah.
I am involved in NLP. I'm involved in what I call effective communication. Basically that's what I call it. I spent a lifetime speaking ineffectively to myself and to others, most of all to myself. And it didn't benefit me. And I discovered that, as we know intellectually, that most of our communication is speaking to the conscious mind, which is the 7%. And very few of us spend the time to learn about how to speak to the subconscious, which is the 93%, and which is the part that rules us. So every decision we make, everything that we decide to do, how we run our day, how we motivate ourselves, how we change our state, everything is ruled by that 93%. Once you know how to communicate with that, your whole life changes, because you can change how you feel about yourself. You can change how you take action in a day. You can change how you were triggered or not, how you respond versus react, how you are effective with people or not, how you can help other people change, how you can create more sales, more influence in any aspect of your life. So NLP, which stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming, is simply neuro or brain, linguistics or language, how we communicate, and programming, how we program ourselves and others with our language, with our communication. And yes, I got very involved in that after I hit my rock bottom. I did this for me. I realized I spoke to myself horrifically, and I was in a very low point of my life back then, and all my demons came up that I'd never addressed, and I nearly took my own life. And I went on a journey of self-discovery for totally selfish reasons, so as to change my state. And I discovered NLP, which, as I said, is really, we could call it hypnosis, we could call it effective communication, we could call it smart thinking, smart communication. And so I'm very, very involved in that now.
Love that. So interesting. This stuff fascinates me deeply. A rabbit hole I've gone down recently is understanding my personality type on a deeper level. Because when I understand how my brain works, I can then view the world a lot more objectively when I'm communicating with people. How do you think that there's a big misalignment between people understanding how their own mind works?
100%. We don't know, and we'll never know, really. We'll never fully know, and we're only touching the surface of it. And even, as I said, I got very involved in NLP and how the mind works. And for the past 15 years, I eat, sleep, and drink this stuff. I mean, this is my passion. This is my purpose, but this is my livelihood. It became my business. It's everything I do. And I am only touching the surface after 15 years of studying this inside out. So our minds are incredible, wonderful, phenomenal computers. And, you know, our soul, our spirit is something even more phenomenal and unique, and we're only touching it. So I think a lot of people, I think we think that we know ourselves. We like to think we know ourselves, and we're always looking to prove ourselves right about that with biases such as psychological biases, such as confirmation bias. Yeah. We like to think that. And then because we like to think it, we're looking for the evidence to prove ourselves right. And we stay in that loop of thinking we know it all. One of my mottos, I always say it to, you know, my clients and mentorees and stuff is, you know, my little quote. It's nothing very intellectual, but it is simply this. It's oh so right to be wrong. Yeah. Oh so right to be wrong. About the bad stuff, obviously, about the stuff that's limiting us or blocking us or holding us back. So again, about how much we think we know, the more we want to prove ourselves wrong about thinking that we know it all, the more we open ourselves up to new possibilities and new perspectives. I like to prove myself wrong every single day. And it's a little task that I give everybody that works for me, is to say, prove yourself wrong today on at least one thing. Because you go, in that moment, you've just opened up a whole new perspective, a whole new field of vision. You've learned something new. So, yes, we like to think we know ourselves, but we really don't.
Yeah. It's far too complex to even believe that we have the full picture. What does that look like, proving yourself wrong on a daily basis? Well, how does someone go about doing that? Well,
again, as I said, our brains love to generalize, distort and delete information. That's how our subconscious mind works, because otherwise it gets too complicated. So like, you know, you learn how to open a door and we learn to press a handle down. And, you know, there's people that have died in rooms because like they get locked in and they never think, as the door's been screwed in the wrong way at the handle, and they don't think about lifting the handle up because we've learned that you press a handle down. If you see a handle, you press it down, and that's how you get out the room. So we generalize. That's how we learn. So when I'm talking about proving myself or yourself or anyone wrong, what I mean is about the things that are holding us back, and to realize that we have made generalizations. If our brain had to learn everything new every single time, we'd go crazy. It would be information overload. It would be too much. We wouldn't survive because we wouldn't be able to cross the road or do anything. So when I talk about proving myself wrong, I'm talking about things that are not serving me. Is when I notice that I'm limiting myself or saying I think it all, I know it all. If we say I think know it all, we're so limiting ourselves. So if you go about your day and say, today I'm going to, okay, a thought came into my head. I know all there is on this subject. Like people come to me and say, oh, I've studied NLP.
Yeah.
As if that's a reason to not study it further. And they say, I've ticked the box. And in that statement alone, that tells me that they don't get the whole point. Because if we've ticked the box on something, for example, like saying, I know how the mind works, then we have really not got the whole point, that we don't know anything yet. So our level of understanding can always be deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. The more that we go deeper, the more we learn, the more we grow, and the more we open ourselves up to being wrong, and then also right about the wonderful stuff that we just discover.
There's a word in the Japanese language called kaizen, and it means continuous improvement. It sounds like a big value of yours. 100%.
I have learned that. I love that, and I don't think maybe I had heard it before. Being open and receptive is what changed my life. I spent 36 years of my life being confident, but having no self-worth, right? Big difference between the two. And thinking I knew it all about certain things, but it actually led me to being a busy fool most of the time. Like I was working in my business, not on my business, right? Because I thought I knew better. So I had 3 restaurants, 120 staff, very, very busy, but not opening myself up to being wrong, because it's safe. It feels safe to stay in what we think we know. And it doesn't feel as safe to say, oh, I'm open to learning more. I'm open to being wrong. Maybe there's loads of stuff that I could learn here, and maybe I can delegate and get other people to do it and hand stuff over. We want to stay in control if we're scared, if we're afraid, which I was, even though I had confidence in what I knew how to do. So there's so many layers. So learning, being open, being receptive are most certainly some of my, and I would say for anyone, the most important values that you'd want to put on your top of your list. It expands your life so much.
So we touched on values. When it comes to business, what would you say are the biggest levers or the most powerful levers you can pull when it comes to skills?
Okay. So as in, for what specifically? For business, to grow your business?
Yeah, say someone's starting out, maybe there's someone with a great idea listening, but they don't really know what skills should I double down on.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, I've opened, 4 brick and mortar businesses of my own, 3 restaurants, a gift shop, and then I've led hundreds of people to opening their own as well. And I'd say the values and the skills are obviously 2 different things. The values, well, you've got to have your passion. You've got to make sure that this is something that you really want. A lot of people say they want something, but then they don't really. They don't want what comes with it. The inner work is so important. You've got to be the vessel that's able to hold that level of success or money or all of that. If you don't feel worthy, and I learned that, you won't be able to hold the money, the success. So you have to do the inside work first. But skill-wise, what I'd say, I suppose, for somebody starting off a business, besides your vision, your clear vision, is, I think, that openness to learn and look for help from people that have done it before. Listen to people that have done it. There's a lot of people out there giving advice that say they know stuff, but they are just saying yeah. I mean, COVID, everyone and their mother has become a coach. But have they actually got that experience? Have they really done it? So I would say, speak to people that have done it, follow people that have really done it, and mirror their success. I mean, ultimately, NLP, is the study of success. It's the study of watching what people did to reach success and doing the same thing.
You mentioned passion, follow your passion.
Yeah.
I think at the start of any skill acquisition, there's not much passion there because you're really bad at it. Do you know? Would you agree, or do you still think the passion is the North Star?
I see passion and skill as 2 different things. I could have a passion, for example, when I had my restaurants, I was very passionate about my restaurants. They were great. They were brilliant. But my skills in certain areas were lacking. Now, I did get better. But my passion was there from the beginning. My passion was, I want to create a space where people come in and really enjoy the food, enjoy the atmosphere, have an experience. That they walk away and go, that was amazing, I want to go back. Right? I wanted to bring Italy, I'm half Irish, half Italian. I wanted to bring a little bit of Italy to Ireland. And that's what I did, right? With my 3 restaurants. And so my passion was there. And a lot of people will have passion, but they don't have skills. And a lot of people will have skills and not have passion. So for success to happen, you've got to have both, right? So now passion, I would say, is top of the list, because skills you can learn and you get better with time. So as long as you have a real passion for what you're doing and you have a bigger mission, you have a bigger intention, you have your vision is big, something that makes you feel alive. For example, my vision of what I've been doing for the past 15 years as a coach, as a mindset coach, NLP trainer, whatever you want to call me, business mentor, isn't my passion isn't, I want to, I don't know, grow a business, or I want to make more money. That's not my passion. My passion is actually, as corny as this is going to sound, I'm kind of a little bit embarrassed saying this, but however, this is the truth. My passion is actually, this is going to sound crazy, but it's actually to make people kinder. Now you're probably wondering, what? How does that happen? I believe, this is my real belief. This is my belief, could be wrong, but this is my belief. I'm a big lover of human beings and animals, right? All creatures on this planet. And I believe cruelty comes from lack of emotional intelligence. That's what I believe, right? I believe we can become, as in the word ignorant, not as in I'm not insulting somebody. We're ignorant of information. We're ignorant of experience. We're ignorant of being taught these ways and these things. And a lot of people are ignorant, in inverted commas, around their emotional intelligence because they've never had the opportunity to experience it and be taught it and be shown it. So the more we are emotionally intelligent, the more I believe we raise our vibration as human beings, the kinder and more respectful we are. And as a whole, the less psychopaths, the less weirdos we're going to have, and the less cruelty we're going to have in the world, because people are have a higher level of intelligence. That's what I honestly believe. And my way of doing that is by teaching people this, how to use their brains for a change.
What are the kind of outcomes you get then? Is it all kind of, do you have a vast array of clients that are, some are business related and some aren't?
Yeah. So again, and I talk about this a lot with people that I work with. A lot of coaches will say you have to have a niche.
Yeah.
But my niche is the key thing that I want to instill in somebody. And then the result is whatever they're looking to get from that. So we could say my key message for everybody that I work with is, when you become the vessel that can hold that success, that goal, that dream, that thing that you want, then you will get it. So it's all about me aiding you, not giving it to you, helping you with the right questions, the right conversations, the right hypnosis, the right subconscious conversations to help you to see that you are the vessel that can hold that. And then when you're able to hold it, then the stuff will come to you. And that's the mistake that most people make. Most people look for money, they look for the partner, they look for the success before they have become the person that's able to hold that success, that partner, that love, that money. So yes, to answer your question, I work with people, for example, who want to write a book. I've a number of mentorees who are writing books, writing novels, and what they thought they needed was maybe to get over their writer's block. But really what they need, I don't like using the word need, but what will benefit them is becoming the vessel, that they become the person that is the writer, that they start identifying as the writer, as the author. And when they become that, then the writing becomes easy, right? Or, right, pardon the pun, or somebody that wants to make more money. But if we're just looking for money, that's never going to work, because that's the byproduct, right? And like all the lotto winners that get the money and lose it, they haven't become the vessel first that can hold that money. So we look at, why do you want to make money? Okay, for what? Oh, I want to feel safe, or I want to travel, or I want to feel free, or I want to help my family. So we look at the reasons why, we look at the passions, we look at the purpose, and then the money comes as a byproduct once you become the person first. So yeah, I would have people in work that work with me for their business, their relationships with their partners, want to save their marriage, rekindle the marriage, find a partner, find love, find themselves, their confidence, their self-worth. That's one of the biggest parts of it. And obviously lots of people who are go-getters who, that's it. They want to, I want to make 100K this year. I want to make the 10K months, all of that. So it would be across the board.
Yeah. So when I met you first, it was up in Croke Park at Amplify back in February. And I remember actually turning to you and saying, well, when are you up on stage? And you're like, oh, I'm up in half an hour. And your talk that day was about the hidden language of success and how by mastering the hidden language of success, you can generate more sales in your business. Did you just give the full picture there now, or is there a few more threads you can pull on?
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, we could go so deep again, where do we start? Where do we end? So in that specific talk, and if I were talking about the language of success for sales, for business, we could go into a lot of specifics that we talk about in NLP, in neurolinguistic programming, influential language. A lot of the things that I think I spoke about in that talk was, for example, if you want me to give the listeners some tips, if you like, it would be, one is getting yeses. It's so simple. People have probably heard it, but maybe not as many people remember it and actually use it. It's such a simple thing, but getting yeses, everybody likes to say yes. Nobody likes to say no. Right. So once we get people in a spiral of saying yes, now this is all obviously when we're talking about sales, we're talking about genuine good stuff. We're talking about stuff that we know, again, we've got the passion, we've got the integrity, we know we're going to deliver the goods, we know it's going to be beneficial. So of course we want to sing it from the rooftops and use our influence in the best possible way to communicate, to get people to say yes, to show them that this is the solution. But yes, you build on the yeses. That would be one of the first things that I would say to somebody if I was to have 2 minutes with somebody and they said to me, okay, how do you get people to buy from you? Or how do you get the sale? I would say, get them to say yes to other things first, right? That would be, and build a pattern of yeses. And then momentum builds momentum. They naturally want to continue saying yes. That's one thing I would say. What else I would say with the hidden language of success, I would say is, you got to be certain. And this is probably where your self-worth and your belief in yourself and your confidence in yourself comes in, and your product and your service comes in. If you are not certain, that will be felt. That will be felt, that will come across consciously or subconsciously. It'll be felt. Maybe the person can't put their finger on it, but they'll sense it. So you've got to be certain about what you're delivering. Like we're not shady salespeople here. We're actually giving something of value, of something of gold, something that is really beneficial. So when you know that, when you know you've got something like, I know I can help you, this is going to change your life, this is going to benefit you, this is going to be good for you, then that conviction, that certainty has to come across. If you are not certain, that will come across, but not just in your energy and body language, because 55% of your communication is body language, in your tone and also in your words. So when it comes to words, we want to, as a general sentence to kind of abbreviate this, is we want to cut out the ifs and focus more on the when. So it's not like if you decided to buy my product, it's more when you decide to buy my product. And that's really important. So that's one of the other things I'd say. And then the third thing I'd say, if we were to kind of like synopsize it into maybe 3 key points for sales, I would say you really got to ask the questions first. You got to find out what the problem is. You got to find out, can you actually deliver it? Are you the right person? If you're not, say so. Say, I don't know if I can help you, but I know someone that can. And if you are, then say, okay, you need to find out where they want to go. Never presume that you know what the person wants. Always wait to hear how they phrase it, the language that they use. That terminology is so important for when you're speaking back to them. And you could break rapport very easily if you make a presumption about you think that you know better about what they want. So find out what they want. And then if you are aligned to that and you know you can help them to get that, then what I would say is the third thing for getting someone to buy is is paint the picture for them. So there's 3 magic words in hypnosis.
Here we go.
Yeah. Just simply imagine. Just simply imagine. And just is what we call a softener word. It's like we're just there. Simply is a magical word because the brain loves simple, easy, loves simple. It'll stand up and take notice. Oh, okay, this is going to be easy. So it's not like if you said just difficultly imagine, it's kind of like, oh, this is going to be hard. It couldn't be bothered, right? So make it easy. So just simply, and imagine is like it's like the pass. It's like, okay, the guards at the gate, the conscious mind have gone off and got a cup of tea and a Kit Kat because they're kind of saying like, all right, we're just going into imagination now. This is just fluffy stuff. So we don't need to be here. So they relax and then you get your foot in the back door. So when the imagination is open, when your imagination is open, that's when, because we know the subconscious doesn't know the difference between what's real or imagined, that's where we're now creating a really strong emotion in the person, and people buy emotionally, not logically, emotionally. So once you get a person to imagine the life, the stuff, the thing that they're going to get, have, do, once they have your product, service, or whatever it is, now they're in. Now they want that. They want to keep that. Now we've activated another powerful bias, which is called loss bias. And loss bias works very simply by when we lose something that we believe was ours, we want it back much more than if we never had it in the first place, right? So when we activate loss bias by getting someone to imagine, oh, just what would it be like now if you had this? Just simply imagine what it'd be like when you have this. And the person, oh, this would be amazing. What would you be doing? What would you be hearing? What would you be saying? What way would you be dressed? What way would you be holding yourself? What would be happening? How would people interact with you? Where would you be? All of this? And we create this and bring it to alive with all the senses. Once we've done that, the person's bought. The person is in it and they want that. So they're the 3 key things I would say when it comes to sales is build a chain of yeses. What was the second thing I said? Certainty. And thirdly, fire up their imagination. So they want it back.
I have a hot take about Irish people, especially carrying generations of baggage from Catholic guilt, famine trauma, silence in families. I think it's all there. How much of that do you think is related to Irish people kind of being allergic to sales in a way?
A lot. However, I don't think it's just an Irish thing because I'm half Irish, half Italian. I mean, I see it in Italy as well. I think as a rule, not all, I think like maybe it might be a little bit different. I don't know this now for a fact, but I think it's a little bit different, for example, in America. I think in the European world in general, again, a big generalization. This is just my very vague, just my opinion. Like I haven't studied this, but I think we are in general probably come from in a section of the world where we are very influenced at that, and we see sales as a bad thing, we see money as a bad thing, because again, I think we have come from poverty. I mean, really, to be honest, like Ireland is a country from history of we're peasants, right? Okay, we're poor.
Yeah,
we're in the past, right? And we're not now as a country, but we were. And I suppose there's that history, there's that ancestry there that people with money are dangerous. Not to be trusted, unsafe, selfish, bad people. So we have definitely got that in our head that even trying to sell something is a negative thing. And this is where I keep going back to, as long as you are selling something of value. I mean, I know the power of what I experienced myself and how much, for example, NLP and being coached myself and having hypnosis done on me and learning about this has helped me. So it would seem very bizarre to me if I didn't want to sing that from the rooftops. So as long as you're not a shady salesman, we do have to get over that. We have to understand that that's how business works. And I also find, because just to touch on this, because, I'm a coach now and I work a lot online, and there isn't, we could say, a tangible product that I'm giving, but I do come from 17 years of giving a tangible product and having brick and mortar business. I think it's very unfair on people that don't have that have a service rather than a product, because like nobody had ever had problem with me, putting my menu out, putting my billboard out and saying, do you want a pizza? Or putting leaflets through the door and saying, come down for a meal and have the early bird, or you know what I mean, an offer. Nobody ever had seen that as shady. But when it comes to selling a product, a service such as coaching, somehow there's another mentality because it's relatively new. So we do need to move forward with society on this, I think. Yeah.
Living in the Stone Age.
Yeah.
For sure. I love how you made that comparison between tangible and intangible, and how, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah. Like, I mean, why is it okay to go into a shop and you buy your packet of biscuits and you don't bat an eyelid and go, oh, you guys are being shady. You're trying to sell something to me. You just presume you have to pay. You don't walk out with it. Most people don't rob it. But so it's not shady in that situation. But when it's an intangible product, like a service in certain areas, but you don't think that when you go to a doctor, because you see, it's just, again, it's familiarity. We know we go to the doctor and we have to pay. And we're getting an intangible a lot of the time, very intangible service. And then when it comes to, for example, something like, coaching or something like that, there's a different mindset around it. So I do think we have somewhere in Ireland, and not as much in the States from what I've seen. We have somewhere, we've got to move forward with this.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I agree, definitely. Tell me a bit more about public speaking, because that's a very big change. Well, it's not really. I suppose if you're running a restaurant, you're using a lot of communication, and now you're just on stage using communication.
Yeah.
What sort of a segue did you cross to get into that arena? Yeah,
I mean, I remember the first time I stood up in front of a room of people. So to keep it short, after my business is closed, I started giving little talks. And this is way before COVID. I started giving little talks once a week in Dublin city centre and things like that. And I might have 5 people one night. I might have 50 people the next night. I might have 100 on some good nights. And the first time, was I nervous? Yeah, 100% I was nervous. However, as I said, we've got to either make our pain or our pleasure or vision so big, one or the other, that we're motivated. And I was motivated to talk about it, even when I was in a room where I felt scared. It's natural. It's natural for us to fear public speaking. It's the most natural fear. It's the number one fear in the world, right? Okay, but because we're standing out alone, where most of us are lacking, unfortunately, in a lot of that area of our life that we should have been taught as a child and we weren't. But like in our self-worth and in our ability to stand up and speak up and be counted and judged, and we're so afraid of being judged and standing out from the crowd, and it is instinctual and all of that. But you get more confident. Confidence comes from doing. So yes, I had touched on speaking in front of people in the restaurants, not much, maybe team meetings, maybe the occasional event at my restaurant, but it was comfortable in my surroundings. It was a different thing. You get used to it, so you're comfortable in it. Public speaking is a skill. And I would say, again, you've got to have, the drive has to be bigger than the skill to start with. The passion has to be bigger than the skill to start with. If your passion is a higher percentage than your skill, you're okay. If your passion isn't as high, if your passion isn't beating the skill, then you're not going to be okay. Your passion there has to be a reason for you to want to speak about it. If that's high, you'll find a way. And it doesn't matter how good or bad you are, because ultimately people will feel your energy. If you're really passionate and genuine about it, it doesn't matter if you mumble your words or not say it in the perfect order. People will still resonate if you're speaking about something that you believe in.
I want to touch now on your books. I just got a idea popped to mind as you're closing that last paragraph. So when did your writing career start? Because I believe the skill of writing massively influences your ability to communicate effectively.
Yeah. Well, I've always loved words, always loved language. My mum speaks 7 languages, and words ever since I was a baby, like words and speaking and writing and language and communication was always in my house, was always in my world. So it is something that I've loved. And even as a child, I used to write poetry. I used to, the only classes that I was interested in school, I'd mitch off from the rest, were my language classes, was English, French and Italian, right? I never did Irish, unfortunately, because I was exempt because I grew up in Rome. And then I came back and I was exempt, which I kind of regret. I wish I was forced to do it. But I loved English class. I loved writing stories. I loved, studying how to speak and how to communicate. So that was always important. When my first book came about after I did my first NLP training. I stood on a stage with Richard Bandler, and he asked me to imagine a goal that I wanted to achieve. And we did something that's called timeline in NLP, and it's kind of a hypnotic NLP process. And I said, I want to write a book, right? And I've actually forgotten the date now, but I knew it for years. I think it was June the 4th. I'm nearly sure it was June the 4th. But whatever day it was that I was on that stage, I said a year from now, which was the same date, June the 4th. And I want to have that book written 1 year from now. And we did the little process, the little NLP exercise, and I sat back down and I put that as my password on my computer, which is what we call priming, right? So I put that as a password as my computer. I put it in a few other places and I kind of forgot about it. I'd be logging into my computer, 4th of June, my password has changed. and I put that in and I forgot about it. But then about a month before the 4th of June the following year, I got this this urge, and it wasn't from looking at the password. I'd forgotten what that meant. But I kind of said, I've got to write that book. And I had an idea for a book in my head. And about 2 weeks before the 4th of June, I said, well, that's it. I'm going down, went down to my mother, stayed in her house for a week, and I wrote the book in a week. And I published it on the 4th of June. Coincidence or not. It was priming. This is what was setting my internal biological clock. And it was such a strong pull to get it done by that date. And it wasn't a conscious thing. It was a subconscious thing. And I published it. Now, the book is called The Black Belt Mastermind, because I'm a black belt in martial arts. And the idea was all about how to become the black belt of your mind. Because when I hit rock bottom, a quote kept coming up in my head when I was at my lowest. And on the day when I actually felt like ending it all, I remembered a quote, a martial arts quote, and it was, a black belt is simply a white belt who never gave up. And I decided on that day I was going to become the black belt of my mind. So the concept of the Black Belt Mastermind book is to bring people, so you can become the black belt of your mind, not just something you tie around your waist and lip service, but really actually do it. And because I realized that the journey to black belt only begins when you become a black belt. A bit like I was saying at the start, if we kind of close that loop about continuous learning. If you rub a black belt enough, if you wear a black belt enough, and you'll see that from real black belts, in martial arts, you'll see that they wear the black belt. And I'm not talking about people that just want to rank for the sake of it and put a new belt around the waist and it's nice and clean and dyed. A black belt is simply dyed. What's underneath it is white, right? So the more you wear your black belt, the more you can see the white coming through. And that's a symbol that we're really all white belts. We've got so much more to learn. And that was my philosophy of how do we bring somebody from white belt to black belt? And that was the kind of the theme, we could say, of the book. It's not a martial arts book, but it's about how you become the black belt of your mind. That was my first book. Yeah. And then I went on from that.
Yeah. So we want to have, so the mentality of that kind of mindset, we want to have the vision of a black belt, but we want to be treating every day like we're a white belt.
We want to, so what happens was, most people don't get to black belt, right? 1 in 100,000 on average, that's what they say, gets to black belt, right? And I got to black belt, and I didn't get to black belt because I was any better than anyone else. I didn't. I know it sounds like, but I didn't. I actually didn't get to black belt because there was something special about me. I got to black belt because I actually didn't care about getting to black belt. It wasn't important to me. So I started training in martial arts because I wanted something to de-stress from my day job, which was the restaurants at the time. And I wanted something to take my mind off it. And I wanted something to be active and also take my mind off it. Yes, I did want to learn how to defend myself, but I also wanted just something that would take my mind off work. So when I went to class, I would be training, and I'd want to train with the biggest guys. I really wanted to learn it. I wanted to be the best. So with most people, and I wanted to stay in a technique until I really knew that I could do it and get better and better at it. Whereas most people come into a karate class and they say, okay, you know, how long to black belt? And okay, and they have a tick the box checklist. Okay, I have to learn all these techniques to get this rank. And then I have to learn all these techniques to get this rank. So what they do is, okay, teach me the technique, oh master. And you teach them the technique and say, okay, I know it. And what they do is they're doing it terribly, but they think, again, back to thinking we know it, they think they know how to do it. But what they actually are doing is nothing resembling the technique, because they've no real good basics. They've no real good form. And that doesn't come from just going, oh, okay, like block, kick, chop. Oh, I know how to do it because their block is terrible. Their kick is terrible. Their chop is terrible because they haven't built up the muscle. They haven't built up the muscle memory of how to drop into a stance, or they haven't got good foundations. That comes with the more you practice the same thing over and over and over again, the better you get at it and the more you see and how to correct it. So most people that come in and do karate, or martial arts, they'll just want to get up the rank. Okay, I know this technique, I know this technique, I know this technique. And the instructor is trying to say to them in a nice way, well, you don't really. You think you look good doing this. You actually look like you couldn't walk and chew gum. You actually have no idea. Look, you don't know your left from your right. It looks appalling. You would never be able to protect yourself. Your block is horrendous. Your punch is never going to work. It's terrible. But most people think they're good, right? So for whatever reason, I wasn't worried about rank. I just wanted to focus on at the time. So I wasn't trying to get anywhere. And there's a great metaphor for life. If we're not trying to get to the success, the 100K, the whatever it might be, that figure, you're much more likely to get it if you're just passionate and doing what you love than going, I have to get to that. So that's why people drop off. That's why 1 in 100,000, because all the others left because they lost motivation, because they were only focused on getting to it. It's like people that want to get to 100K, coaches that want to get to 100K year, month, or whatever, whatever it might be. They drop off because I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. So, oh no, I'm no good. I'm not there yet. So they stop. Whereas the coach that says, well, I just love this. I just love this. I could do this all day. I just love this. They're going to get there. So that's why I got to black belt, because I didn't care about the black belt. And what I realized was, you know what? When you get to black belt, that's the hardest part. But that's when the real test begins. And this is where I think the question that you asked, your black belt only really begins when you get to black belt. Because that's in that moment, suddenly you put a black belt on, everything changes in the dojo and in life. Everything changes. Now you're the one that's expected to know it all. Now you're the one that everyone looks up to. Now you're the one that everyone kind of tests. and wants to check out and wants to challenge. Now you're the one that has to answer all the questions, be a certain way, behave this, all of these things. You're under such scrutiny. That's when the test begins. Can you hold the black belt? And it's the exact same in life.
I heard a great story. Actually, it's related to karate. It was of a student and his master. And the student said, how long is it going to take me to become a black belt in karate? And the master said, 10 years. And then the student said, but what if I study on YouTube videos every day? If I'm in the gym 5 days a week, if I live, breathe and sleep karate, how long will it take? And the master goes, 20 years. Yeah. I thought that was brilliant, that it actually aligned very well with your story.
That's absolutely spot on. Yeah. If we want it and we're looking to get to the destination, it's going to make it much harder. If we're just enjoying the moment and living and doing what we love and our passion, we'll get to places much faster.
A big idea I've been kind of wrestling with lately is staying in the present moment. It's easy to get caught up, especially with social media. Comparison trap is real. You always feel like you're behind. Maybe it might affect your self-worth if you don't have that rock foundation like you were talking about. Do you have any practices for staying in the present moment more?
Well, I've so many practices for building our self-worth, 100%. For staying in the present more, you see, a lot of that comes down to our self-worth. We don't want to stay in the present. So it's a kind of a two-edged, there's two sides to this question. So the simple answer is how to stay in the present more is practice staying in the present more. Make it part of your day. Do your meditation, your moment of mindfulness of just being in the present moment. Pick it, like there's this very simple practice. I do this every 7 a.m. every morning with a whole group of 70 people where we look at an object. There's a whole load of rituals, and we'll look at an object for 1 minute and just keep bringing our mind back to that object, back to that object, back to that object. Every time your mind drifts, bring your mind back to that object, because that's teaching you how to just stay in that moment, right? So that's one practice. Obviously, just meditation. Picking something and just sitting there. You don't have to do it in the lotus position, but, and looking at that object and focusing on something, or using your breath or doing your ums or whatever, and practicing meditation. So that's another way. But that's one answer. For me, it goes so much deeper than that. The real question is, why can't we stay in the present moment? And why are we so distracted and so influenced by social media and all that kind of stuff? Is that we've learned that. We've learned that from when we were children to always look, and I want to make this as simple and concise as I can. We've learned to look from a very early age, always for outside validation. Always for outside validation. And even by the best parents.
Yeah.
Because even the best parents, will come along and you're upset about something and you say, oh, I'm upset about something. They'll say, don't be silly. Don't think about that. You're perfect. You're wonderful. You're fabulous. And then in that moment, you've pushed your feelings down and you've learned to look out of yourself to what somebody else tells you is right or wrong for their approval, to make you feel good, right? So we've been taught from a very early age. And we've also been taught not just to be, to do. We've been taught to do rather than be. So when we were born, we couldn't do anything. We were absolutely useless human beings. Yet we were adorable. We were perfect. So a little baby can't do anything. They can't tie their shoelaces. They can't walk. They can't eat. They can't do anything for themselves. They can't even hardly go to the loo for themselves. They can't do anything, right? So they need help with everything when you're a baby. You were just a being, not a jelly bean, a human being, as I always say, right? We were just a being, and but still we were perfect. And then what happened was we did something. We learned how to take our first step. We learned how to say mama, dada, a word. And suddenly we got praise. Suddenly it's, oh my God, you're so clever, you're a genius, you're amazing. You could tie your shoelaces, you wrote your first word, you said, you said a word, you did this, you did that. And suddenly we started getting praise for everything that we did. So again, we're getting outside validation. So we started to learn that being, us just being the way we are, isn't enough. That we need to do something. And when we do something, we get somebody else that tells us we're great for doing that thing. So we learn to constantly, we've been taught to constantly look outside of ourselves for validation, approval. That's why Facebook psychologically works, because, what's his name? Facebook guy? Zuckerberg knew that, understood that. The psychology of, the like. It's the most persuasive drug in the universe to be getting other people's approval. So that's why we're so distracted, because we've never learned how to sit and just be in ourselves. We've always been taught to look outside of ourselves. So yes, to answer that question, what do? You got to do the inner work, not just the mindfulness, not just moments of meditation. You've also got to be able to look and stay and sit. This comes back to becoming the vessel. Be able to sit with yourself. Can you get comfortable with just being with you, and then what other people think, like things like public speaking, all of that won't matter as much once you get comfortable with knowing that you are the most incredible being on the planet. You are phenomenal as you are, and you don't need other people's approval. So, yeah.
To rewire your mind though, like if you had bad experiences in the past, if you have past trauma that you haven't dealt with fully, all these bad thoughts are clogging your lens, is gratitude journaling, where on the list would you rate that as the most kind of effective approach to take?
Gratitude is one of the most effective, 100%, definitely. Again, see, there's so many layers to this. And again, we can open a whole can of, I don't want to say worms, of gold or something instead. But because a lot of people, again, the problem is most people do these exercises like tick the box exercises. They think, oh, I've done my gratitude list for today. I'm done. Tick, tick, tick. And they're getting validation from that. They're giving themselves validation because it feels like they've done something. But our aim in any of these practices isn't just to do something. It's to feel something. So when you're doing gratitude I would put nearly one as the top of the list, because the aim of doing your gratitude is to feel the gratitude. It's to step into the feeling of, I am really grateful that I can pick up a glass of water and drink water. And how blessed am I that I don't have to walk, 6 miles to get a sip of dirty water if I'm lucky enough. How often do we actually, but not just say it, feel it, really let that land. Oh my, I am the luckiest on the planet. I am absolutely so lucky. When we are in that frequency, and without getting too woo, but if we're going into, quantum physics and manifestation.
There we go.
But when we're in that frequency, that's what we're going to attract, because frequency attracts frequency. If we're just in the frequency of tick the box, where there's no emotion behind that. So, but when we tap into the frequency, then we are in a completely different state. And then other things that are in that frequency will be attracted to us like a magnet. So gratitude, I would most certainly put at the top of our list. Now, if we're talking about it just in a psychological sense, without woo, it also works. Because when we're in a good energy, psychologically, when we're in a good emotional state, what do? We act better. We will take action in a different way. If you wake up in the morning and you go, oh, here we go, another day, and you're ungrateful for the fact that you woke up, that you got to wake up, and you're ungrateful for that, and you're ungrateful for the fact that you had to have a bed, and that, that you, whatever is going on, you have maybe a roof over your head if you're lucky. If you're ungrateful for this stuff and you wake up and go, oh no, here we go again, what's going to happen on a psychological level is we know our emotions feed our behavior, and our behavior equals our results. So if we are in a negative state, we're not going to take great action, and then we're not going to get the results that we want. That's on a very practical level. So it's very obvious that when we wake up in the morning and we write 3 things, and I like to do priming. I like to do gratitude in advance. So I prime myself in the morning. I do it in the present state at night, going to sleep. I am grateful for. And then in the morning I will be grateful for, because I'm priming myself and setting the evidence to look for that. So I say, I will be grateful for today. I will be grateful for coming and speaking to the marvelous Kaylin. I will be grateful for drinking water. I will be grateful for having a wonderful lunch, or whatever it might be. And I prime myself. Now that sets you up for the day. It's a totally different frequency. And again, back to confirmation bias, I'm looking to prove myself right. So my mind, the little people in my head, are going looking for that. It activates everything.
With the RAS, I think it's...
Yeah, your reticular activating system. So we're activated now to look for that, to prove ourselves right. So gratitude is definitely one of the top. But I mean, there's so many layers that we could go.
It's like an onion.
Yeah.
To keep on peeling back. So much gold in what you just shared, Danielle. Like there's, a lot of really valuable insights. What's the vision for the next 3 years?
Oh God, for the Black Belt Mastermind Academy?
What's the North Star to kind of...
Well, to grow it, I mean, to be honest, and again, I don't want to sound so corny, because I think sometimes that puts people off. If they think it's all fluffy. But, my vision is, for example, I have a mentoree who's been with me now for 4 years. She's her third or four years in my mentorship. And we have a big plan for her next year in Dublin, a big event that she's going to be putting on. And it's something that's very close to my heart as well. And my vision is to see people bring their vision to life. I know that sounds so corny, but that is what we all want to feel like we have. And maybe it's selfish, but we all want to feel like we have a worth, a value, a meaning in this world, that we've made a difference. And every person that I touch, that I make a difference in some way to their life, that whether they become more confident standing on stage, they do the event that they've always wanted to do, they say the thing that they've wanted to do, they write the book that they've always wanted to do, they fulfill their dreams, the world becomes kinder, people become better, we're nicer to each other. I mean, I was very bullied as a child, from being half Irish, half Italian, a little bit crazy, like the more I see people fulfill their dreams, the more I feel good. So my vision is again, well, the big vision, if we're talking on a very practical level, one of my books, I want it to be a film.
Love
That's a big vision. So Terra Nova, which is a fantasy fiction. I'd love, Steven Spielberg or someone to pick that up and make that into a film. I want to have an island with animals on it, a bit like Jurassic Park. Just sounds very bizarre.
Well, this is great. This is what it's all about.
Yeah.
Dreaming in public.
I want to grow the Black Belt Mastermind Academy into something worldwide. And I really just want people to understand that we can do anything we bloody want once we put our mind to it. And we understand that we are the most incredible human beings on the planet. Yeah. So that's kind of my vision.
Love it. Love it. And where can people check you out online?
theblackbeltmastermind.com. Yeah, or Danielle, to find me, I'm very easy to find. Danielle Serpico, theblackbeltmastermind.com, any social media platform that you want.
Magic. Well, thank you so much for coming on today, Danielle. Really enjoyed this.
Enjoyed it too. Thank you. Great questions.